Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're tackling a really profound area, this emerging intersection of physics and spirituality. Specifically, we're looking at a compelling new theory of consciousness.
And our source today is a fascinating discussion featuring Federico Faggin.
Right. Many of you will definitely know that name. Huge contributions to Silicon Gate technology, touchpads, touch screens.
Yeah.
Just massive impacts.
Absolutely. But what's really interesting is his journey away from pure materialism, focusing instead on, well, the fundamental nature of consciousness itself.
Exactly. So our mission here is to really unpack his perspective on reality, meaning, purpose, the big questions.
Yeah, and it's exciting because you've got this incredible scientific mind, a real innovator, grappling with these deep, almost spiritual inquiries. It's a unique blend.
It really is. His background gives his ideas a certain weight, you know? He's not coming at this from purely abstract philosophy. He's grounded in the physical sciences.
Definitely. And we're aiming for clarity here, navigating some complex ideas, maybe finding some of those aha moments as we explore what could be a paradigm shift in how we see things.
His whole shift started because he felt the limitations of that standard materialist view, right?
Precisely. It wasn't just an intellectual exercise. It stemmed from his own life, his own experiences.
Which brings us to that pivotal moment he talks about, his awakening experience.
Yeah.
That seems like the key catalyst.
It really does. It fundamentally challenged his worldview. So maybe we should start there, or actually just before that, his initial perspective.
Good idea. So trained as a physicist, he accepted the standard model, basically.
Right.
Reality is purely physical, matter is fundamental.
Right, the dominant view. Consciousness is seen as something that just emerges from complex brain activity, an epiphenomenon almost.
And he expected, like many people do, that achieving success, inventing things, building companies, that this would lead to happiness.
But it didn't quite pan out that way. He found himself, despite all the success, feeling unfulfilled, unhappy even.
And because he had this sort of entrepreneurial mindset, taking responsibility, figuring things out.
He didn't just accept it. He wanted to find the root cause. Why the unhappiness?
And that led him straight to the question of consciousness. He was already studying neuroscience, neural networks, trying to find a biological answer.
Using the standard scientific approach, looking for the physical basis in the brain. But that's when he ran into, well, the big one.
The hard problem of consciousness, yeah.
Exactly. How do electrical impulses and chemicals shuffling around in your skull possibly give rise to the feeling of seeing red, or the taste of coffee, or the feeling of love?
Right, the qualia. How does physics become subjective experience?
And coming from tech, he thought, okay, if the brain does it, maybe a computer could. If it's just complexity and information processing.
But he hit a wall. He realized there's just no known physical principle for turning bits and bytes, electrical signals, into actual feeling, into qualia.
It seemed impossible within that materialist framework. If consciousness is just computation, why can't we even imagine how to program subjectivity?
That impossibility, that intellectual dead end, plus his personal dissatisfaction. That really set the stage for what happened next.
The awakening experience. 1990, Christmas holidays, skiing in Tahoe. A relaxed setting, maybe away from the usual mental grind.
Yeah, the context might be important. He wakes up thirsty, gets water, goes back to bed, and then bam.
He describes this intense beam of white, scintillating energy pouring out of his chest.
Not just seeing it, but feeling it. Overwhelming love, joy, peace, beyond anything he'd ever known.
That intensity, the quality of the emotion, is often reported in these kinds of profound experiences. It's off the charts of normal feeling.
And crucially, his sense of self shifted. He felt his consciousness was that energy. He was in it, part of it.
That feeling of unity, non-duality, the usual boundaries dissolving.
And then he sort of steps back, becomes an observer of himself having the experience and the energy itself simultaneously.
That's fascinating, that meta-awareness, even during such an intense event.
Then a thought forms. This stuff is what everything is made of. But he instantly knew the thought was just a label for an understanding he already had.
The knowing came first, the words later. Language trying to catch up to direct insight.
The whole thing was holistic, body, mind, emotions, all connected. He felt connected to everything, even felt his body vibrating.
A total integrated experience, not just mental, not just emotional, but everything at once.
And the key thing for him, especially given his scientific background, was the certainty. It felt undeniably true right then and there. No need for proof or rationalization.
Yeah, a direct, unmediated knowing. Very different from intellectual belief or scientific deduction. self-validating.
So after that, everything changed for him. His fundamental sense of identity shifted from being separate to being interconnected.
That's a core transformation often described.
Yeah.
The separate ego sense softening or dissolving.
And looking back, he saw his years of questioning about consciousness, that intense drive to understand. He saw it as a kind of prayer, a deep seeking.
That's a really powerful reframe. The scientific quest itself is a form of spiritual yearning.
It really drove home the power of direct experience over just intellectual argument. That one experience outweighed all the theories he knew.
It highlights that subjective experience can offer a different kind of knowledge, maybe a deeper kind in some ways.
So for the next 20 years, he really committed to inner work. Meditation, contemplation, working with teachers.
Trying to understand consciousness from the inside out through self-experience, not just theory.
Right. And around 2008, 2009, he arrived at this core insight. Consciousness and free will aren't just side effects of matter. They are fundamental, inseparable, maybe even primary.
That's the huge leap, reversing the usual assumption. Consciousness isn't emergent, it's foundational.
And that became his mission, trying to unite physics and spirituality into one coherent whole.
A massive undertaking, building that bridge between science and direct experience.
So, to build his theory, he starts with definitions. Consciousness, he says, is the capacity of one, the totality of what exists, to know itself.
Okay, so one is key here, the ultimate reality, the totality. And consciousness is its capacity for self-knowing, very broad.
And his fundamental postulate follows from that. One is the totality of what exists, what potentially can exist, and what actually exists. Potentiality and actuality included.
Right, so one isn't static. It includes all possibilities and what's currently manifest. Potential comes first, in a sense.
He sees one as holistic, dynamic, interconnected, more like quantum physics describes things, not classical billiard balls.
Yeah, that interconnectedness resonates with quantum entanglement and non-locality, a fundamental unity.
And here's the crucial bridge he proposes. One wants to know itself. This inherent desire is the driving force.
That introduces purpose, intention, right at the most fundamental level. It's not just blind laws, there's a wanting.
Which implies one isn't omniscient, right? If it already knew everything about itself, why would there be evolution learning us?
Exactly. The drive to know implies a process of discovery, unfolding, experiencing itself through different forms.
So knowing and existing become two sides of the same coin. Knowing brings potential into actual existence.
It suggests reality is fundamentally experiential. Consciousness isn't passive. It's participating in creation through knowing.
And this leads to the idea of part wholes or conscious units emerging. He likens them to Leibniz's monads.
Ah, okay. So individual perspectives through which one experiences itself.
Yeah, each unit has the properties of one, but with a unique viewpoint, contributing to the overall self-knowing of the whole.
Interesting. It allows for both unity and individuality.
Now let's link this to free will. He says that fundamental wanting to know itself is the will, the free will of one.
So free will isn't just a human thing. It's a property of reality itself, the engine of self-discovery.
That's the idea. Our free will, our capacity to direct our own knowing, is inherited from that fundamental free will. Consciousness and free will are basically inseparable.
Wow. Okay, that flips the script on determinism.
Completely. And it means the universe isn't inherently meaningless, which is often the conclusion from strict materialism. There's purpose baked in from the start. Self-knowing.
A very different picture of the cosmos. Meaning isn't something we invent, it's fundamental.
He then connects this to quantum physics, arguing that quantum mechanics itself pushes against pure materialism.
Right, things like superposition, a particle not being definite until observed. It exists in a realm of potentiality.
Exactly. It's the measurement, the interaction, that seems to collapse possibilities into definite reality in our space-time.
The observer effect. Still mysterious, but observation seems key.
And Faggin stresses, quantum physics describes what we can know through measurement, not necessarily reality as it is independent of us. It's probabilistic.
Our knowledge is limited by the act of observing.
Yeah.
It gives probabilities, not certainties about the underlying state.
And those probabilities seem linked to consciousness, unlike a deterministic computer.
Yeah, classical computer's next state is totally predictable. Quantum seems different.
So he floats this really radical idea. Maybe the collapse of the wave function, that seemingly random jump from possibility to actuality. Maybe it's not random.
What then?
Maybe it's an act of free will at that fundamental quantum level, a non-algorithmic choice.
Whoa, Okay, free will influencing quantum events, that's
Yeah.
out there, but fascinating.
His point is that if you postulate consciousness and free will as fundamental, maybe those weird quantum properties start to make more sense. They become necessary features, not just bizarre quirks.
So start with mind and agency, and quantum mechanics follows, rather than the other way around.
Kind of, yeah. It's a different starting point to explain the data we have.
Which brings us back to why he thinks computational consciousness is a dead end. His own attempts failed.
Right. His direct experience trying to build AI led him to see that fundamental barrier again. How do you get subjective feeling qualia from electrical signals?
You can simulate behavior, process information, but the inner experience, that seems different. Qualia aren't just numbers, they're rich, non-numerical.
He also argues our deepest longings to know ourselves find meaning these things aren't really measurable, which is the basis of science as we usually practice it.
Science focuses on the quantifiable, but maybe the most important aspects of existence aren't quantifiable.
Even quantum math uses things like complex numbers, probability amplitudes. They need conscious interpretation to relate to real-world outcomes. They aren't just objective things.
And classical computers, being deterministic, lack that genuine free will he sees as essential to consciousness.
Okay, so he proposes this three-level model of reality. Level 1, fundamental reality, described by quantum physics Hilbert space. But these quantum states are conscious experiences. They are qualia at the base level.
So consciousness is primary, and quantum math describes it, not the other way around.
Level 2, classical reality, our everyday world of objects, space, time. This emerges from the quantum level via free will decisions of conscious entities.
So the solid world we see is derived, a manifestation shaped by consciousness.
Yeah. And level 3, the body. It's the bridge, the interface. It's both quantum and classical.
The meeting point between the deep reality and the everyday world.
And he talks about live information in the body, something deeper than just classical bits or quantum states, like the meaning in spoken words, not just the sound waves or written symbols.
Dynamic meaning, not just static data.
Meaning exists in that deeper fundamental reality. The outer classical world has symbols, data. The body translates between them.
The body is a meaning transducer, in a way.
His view is monistic, not dualistic. No hard split between spirit and matter. Matter is seen as a manifestation of spirit or mind.
Okay, so overcoming that mind-body problem by saying it's all fundamentally mind-like.
And he calls the fundamental units SADI, like a quantum field, say electrons, but with consciousness and free will built in. These are the building blocks.
SADI, the conscious quantum fields.
Got it. And the interconnectedness of one is deeper than just mathematical sets. It's a more fundamental wholeness. The individual units, the monads or says, have the properties of one, but their own unique viewpoint, imprinted at creation, and they keep that identity forever.
Individuality within unity. Eternally.
That's the idea.
Yeah.
And there could be infinite units, hierarchies, all driven by one wanting to know itself more completely.
Explaining the universe's complexity as this drive for self-knowledge unfolding.
And that deepest longing to know oneself, he sees it everywhere. It's the root of spirituality, religion, even science.
Science just tackles the surface level, the measurable part of that longing.
Right. He argues scientism, the idea that only the measurable is real, is just an unproven assumption, a postulate.
And it potentially blinds us to inner knowing. Experiences like love, courage, things that defy measurement but feel profoundly real.
Exactly. Existence is one knowing itself through experience.
So self-realization isn't learning something new, it's remembering, recognizing what's already true about us.
Kind of, yeah. Or maybe it's both discovering what's known and creating something new through experience. It's dynamic.
What about suffering then? Where does that fit?
He suggests it might mostly happen in this quasi-virtual reality where we mistakenly think we are just the body with all its limits and pains.
An identification problem. We forget our deeper nature.
And the purpose of being here in this physical universe is to learn specific things about ourselves through interaction in this reality co-created by the Sayas.
So challenges are lessons, opportunities for growth within this co-created space.
Yeah. Everything we perceive was first, in some sense, envisioned in the consciousness of the Say.
The physical world as a manifestation of collective consciousness.
And taking responsibility for your life, the good and the bad, is crucial for waking up from that limited identification. He learned this himself. It's not about blame, but responsibility.
Owning your experience empowers you to change it, rather than feeling like a victim of circumstance.
It takes courage, he says. And again, a direct spiritual experience can be far more transformative than just thinking about it.
That direct knowing bypasses the intellect and hits deeper.
It shifts you from being a seeker, always looking outside, to being a knower, finding truth within through experience.
The journey moves inward.
And love. He sees love as absolutely fundamental, not just an emotion, but a force, maybe even the substance of reality, the ground of all qualia.
Wow. Love as the fabric of existence.
That's the implication. It's the feeling other feelings arise from, a core motivator. Loving yourself and others becomes a measure of how much you're realizing that goal of self-knowing.
So love, joy, peace are interconnected at the base, and knowing and loving go together.
Deeply intertwined. Creation itself is one seeking to know itself and perhaps love itself more fully through all these interactions.
The universe is an act of love and self-discovery.
He also distinguishes information from meaning. Shannon's information theory is just about symbol probability, not semantic content.
Right. Information doesn't inherently mean anything. We bring the meaning.
And symbols, like language, can never fully capture the richness of qualia, of direct experience.
They're pointers, not the thing itself.
He mentions Olivos' theorem in quantum physics. You only get one classical bit out per qubit measured. There's a limit to accessing the quantum information.
Suggesting the quantum realm is much richer than what we can classically describe.
And the no-cloning theorem quantum states can't be copied perfectly. He links this to consciousness possibly requiring these unique, non-reproducible states.
Whereas computers use reproducible bits. Maybe that's a fundamental block for AI consciousness.
Could be. Now, revisiting free will, it's a property of the sati, the field, not the body itself. The body follows physical laws.
The body is the instrument. Consciousness is the player with the free will.
Right. Free will is the sati deciding to act, maybe overriding the body's automatic responses, like a drone pilot.
Okay.
But the ego, that part of the sati identifying as the body, its beliefs, can limit that free will.
Our limited self-concept restricts our choices.
Potentially. Awakening beyond body identification might unlock more free will. He also talks about the intelligence of the heart as a source for wiser, more courageous choices.
Connecting to intuition beyond just rational thought.
He compares the body learning to AI training, but stresses that real understanding, real awareness, is in the consciousness, the sati, not the physical structure or algorithm.
The learning happens, but the knowing is deeper.
What about things like near-death experiences or reincarnation?
How does his theory handle those?
He sees consistency. NDE accounts, out-of-body views, seeing loved ones. Life changes are hard to explain just with neuroscience.
They do challenge standard materialist models.
His theory allows for the sati, being fundamental and eternal, to potentially inhabit new bodies, carrying forward lessons or memories.
So reincarnation becomes plausible within this framework of an enduring conscious entity.
Looking ahead, he reflects on how recent civilization is in cosmic terms. He wonders how people in, say, the 25th century will view our current materialism.
Hopefully as a phase we pass through, an aberration compared to historical connections to deeper realities.
That's his hope. He sees the next 100 years as critical. We have immense power, AI, nuclear tech, climate impact for creation or destruction.
A real turning point for humanity.
He hopes we shift towards exploring consciousness directly, recognizing ourselves as interconnected beings, maybe even beings of light.
Moving beyond just the material focus.
Which leads to this choice we face now. Are we just machines or are we souls, says. He thinks transhumanism might misunderstand consciousness if it's purely mechanistic.
It hinges on what we believe consciousness is, a machine output or something fundamental.
And he stresses personal experience, exploring beyond materialism is key. We each have some responsibility for the beliefs we choose about reality.
It requires openness and courage to question the dominant paradigm.
He also briefly touches on nested realities, hierarchies of consciousness. Larger says maybe encompassing smaller ones, like cells make organs, organs make bodies.
Fractal consciousness. Layers of being.
Maybe. And he mentions the service to self versus service to other polarity as a key dynamic in consciousness evolution. Cooperation being key for growth, not just competition.
Because ultimately we're interconnected. Harming another is harming the whole, and thus oneself.
Exactly. That recognition fosters compassion.
And finally, aliens. Extraterrestrial life.
He thinks it's highly probable. If consciousness, his broader term, arises from fundamental fields everywhere, why only here? Quantum psychism suggests consciousness isn't limited to biology.
So consciousness could be widespread, perhaps in forms we can't even imagine.
Okay, so wrapping up this deep dive, we've seen the limits Faggin found in materialism, the impact of his awakening, his core ideas about consciousness and free will being fundamental.
The interconnectedness of everything, the importance of direct experience, taking responsibility.
Yeah.
It's a rich tapestry.
It really is. And what stands out, I think, is that potential paradigm shift he's proposing.
Yeah, I mean, what if that deep longing we all feel to know ourselves isn't just personal? What if it's the universe's own driving force?
Right. What possibilities open up if consciousness isn't just a fluke of biology, but the actual foundation of reality?
It changes everything, how you see yourself, your purpose, the cosmos. It invites a profound rethink.
Definitely something to chew on. For anyone wanting to go deeper, we really recommend checking out Federico Faggin's book, Irreducible.
And his website, too. We'll put links in the show notes. He lays it all out in much more detail there.
It's a fascinating journey into potentially revolutionary ideas.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the nature of consciousness.